So today we're going to be talking about 2 to 4 units versus multifamily units. Which should you buy? When should you buy either one? There's a lot of confusion going on, especially with some newer investors about, hey, is this multifamily? Is it not? When should I decide to just buy a 4-unit? What is it like? How are you going to finance a 4-unit versus how you're going to finance 10-unit, 15-unit? What's the difference in all of this, right? So today we're going to break all of that down so that by the end of this live session here today, if you are on the fence, if you had some uncertainty about it, that you leave out of here better than you came in, all those questions are answered. Also, I'll encourage you that if you showed up today, you're like, hey, Jason, I just came here because I got one question that I wanted answered, or there's something pressing on your mind right now, you might be able to save your time. Time is more precious than money. And so if you just want to drop that question right now, maybe I can answer it, knock it out here at the beginning. And then you might be able to go on and start your weekend a little bit earlier. So I definitely want to encourage everyone to ask the questions, to get those answered. You take a precious time out of your day in order to hop into this meeting. So I want to make sure that it is valuable to me. That's interesting with Jeffrey saying he can't get his sound going. I don't know. I think everyone else can hear me. If not, please let me know. All right, make sure that's okay. There's like they can hear. Yeah, I got the response to it. So I got the audio going right now. So cool. Let's go ahead and hop in. Let's get a screen share, sort of kick it off the way we usually do. For those who don't know me, my name is Jason Stubblefield. Been investing in apartment complexes since 2016. The website that you're looking at now, if you can see my screen, which if you got the camera on, give me a head nod if you can. But yeah, if you look at the screen, this is snscapitalpartners.com. That's like NancySam.com. This is where you find out more about our company, some of the assets that we purchased, link up with me. Find out more just about the business. If you're interested in hearing about passive investment opportunities, maybe you have invested passively or you're interested in investing passively. If you go to the Invest tab, you see this Join Our Community. You click this little red button here. You fill out a brief form, puts you in a list of our world so we can talk to you, figure out what your goals are, and you can hear about our opportunities as they come out in the future. So wanted to let that be known so you know how to contact us. So for today, the best way I thought to do this is just to walk through some of the differences here. So I'm going to break up a form and I'll be typing on this thing and you all can help me out. So I know we got some smart people on the call today. So if I miss something or something that I don't have in here, feel free to let me know. So Lisa says, put the website in the chat. Yes, ma'am. I would do that right now. Okay, cool. So let me share my screen again and let's get right to it. Okay, so let's see if I can blow this up a little bit more. All right, so first things first, right? If you can see this, let's just get the naming conventions out, nomenclature here. When I mention multifamily, I'm specifically talking about 5+ units. There are plenty of people out there who say multifamily, and if you've got 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit, any units, it's considered multifamily. But for me and for our conversation today, if I'm talking about less than 4 units, that's going to be residential, duplex, triplex, quad. You may hear me say some of those terms, but that's what I'm talking about. If I'm talking about 2 to 4 units, and if I'm talking about more than 4 units, 5 units and up, that's when I'm going to say multifamily, because that's how I see it different in my mind, right? So with that, let's just talk about each of these different types of properties and when you should buy them and some of the differences that you should know. So the biggest thing, in my opinion, when it comes to the difference between 2 to 4 units and multifamily is going to be the way they are evaluated. This evaluation will come into play when you're dealing with a lender. It'll come into play with your appraisal. How much is this property worth, right? 2 to 4 units are going to be evaluated on the comparable approach. You say, Jason, what's a comparable approach? Well, that's where they look at other properties that are comparable to yours and determine how much those properties are worth based off of that. For instance, you live in a neighborhood, units are selling for $200,000 a unit. You got 2 units. Those 2 units are going to be $200,000. They will also look at other duplexes or quads that are similar to yours and see when did they sell for last 6 months, last year, and that's going to be your comps, right? They're basically going to look for something similar. What did that sell for? And then they're going to use that to determine your evaluation. All right, so that's fairly straightforward. Some of the pros of that is that it's going to be easy to understand where they got the numbers from, right? They're going to give you up very similar to residential. Hey, here are the comparable properties we use, other 2 to 4 units in your market. This is what they sold for. And that's how they came up with your price. So very easy. The cons, though, of this is going to be in the limited ability to force appreciation. And so forcing appreciation, I guess I'll just touch on that real briefly. If you got questions about it, feel free to let me know. I'll elaborate further. But forced appreciation is when you're able to go in, make changes to a property, and know that the value is going to go up, right? So you're forcing that appreciation. You are very limited in your ability to do that in 2 to 4 units because of this comparable approach. So if you have units and you buy it, say the rents are $1,000, you're able to change those rents to get $1,800 a month. That money, that income, that extra $800 a unit that you made in revenue doesn't get realized on your property evaluation, right? It's going to be more money in your pocket, but it doesn't necessarily result in in a higher evaluation of your property if it doesn't. What am I trying to say here? Blah, blah, blah. I can't even talk. If other property valuations aren't going up, right? So if everything is still $200,000 a unit, doesn't matter if you got an extra $800 a unit on your unit, or if you put in gold toilets, or if you put in granite countertops, or whatever you do, it doesn't matter because it's based off the comparable approach, right? Just by other properties and what they're selling for. All right. So hopefully that's clear, and we'll leave evaluation right there, right? So let's talk about financing, right? If you're going to finance a 2 to 4 unit, some of the pros of that is that you can utilize first-time home buyer opportunities, right? So if you have not bought a home, or if you're going to use this as a primary residence, you can get some of those programs. FHA has as little as 3.5% down payments. There's also programs, down payment assistance, and you can live there. So every loan product that is available to a home buyer is available and accessible to you as a 2 to 4 unit property owner. So it allows you to get in with less money, right? With less money, right? That you can have to come up with in order for your down payment, in order to get access. Also, if you're interested in this, you want to talk to your lender, but sometimes they can take the rents of other units and apply that to your income, which means if you qualify for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 yourself, right, they may look at the rents of your 4 unit and say, hey, we can take 3 of these other units in the income and use that to boost up your income so you can walk away with a higher approval letter based on the fact that you're buying 2 to 4 units. Don't make that assumption, though. You want to make sure that you talk to your lender and that they are on board with that so that you know that, all right, this is what I can do. What I've told people in the past is if you're shopping for a 2 to 4 unit, make sure you do that first before you go get your credit checked, right? Get a credit ran before you commit to a lender. Ask them, hey, if I buy a 4 unit property, can those other 3 units be used towards my income? If you get a yes on that, then you may want to move forward with the loan process. knowing that you'll be able to get a higher evaluation versus other banks, because banks aren't going to tell you. No offense to any lenders, but usually banks, they make money, or loan officers make money off doing loans. So if you come to them and say, I'm looking for a 4-unit, they're just going to line you up with their 4-unit product, the best of their ability, and allow you to go shop with their approval letter. All right. So the cons, though, of financing a 2 to 4 unit is that you're going to be limited by your personal credit score. Right. So if you got bad credit for whatever reason, it's not going to be able, it's not going to, it's really going to be a limiting factor for you and how much you can get approved for, your interest rate, all that stuff. Also, if you did want to expand out, say you needed private investors to help you qualify for this, it's going to be harder to attract private investors. Why is that? Well, we scrolled up here when we talked about the cons and the limited ability to force appreciation, right? So what I recommend is, if you are buying any property, any real estate, you should not go into it without knowing how you're going to get out of it. And so when it comes to exiting on a 2 to 4 unit, you are susceptible to whatever happens in the market. So if the market goes better, naturally, it appreciates, that's okay for you. But because you can't force appreciation, you're sort of limited by that. And oftentimes, if you raise money, it's hard for you to be able to put a story together about how that equity is going to confidently be able to come out if there's no path about forcing appreciation. All right. So harder to attract private investors, and it's more difficult when it's distressed, right? Banks, this is for commercial and residential, but as you're looking at a distressed property, there's more difficulty if it's a 2 to 4 unit, just because of the lack of ability to force appreciation, right? So costs, I hinted on this a little bit before, right? With the lower costs, it's really going to be comparable to residential purchase. So you may be able to get in programs that offer you 5% down, 10% down, even as low as 3.5% down. You may be able to find some subsidies, some extra programs to help you with that down payment in terms of down payment assistance. But the cons of that is you're not going to gain the skill of raising capital, because you're going to be forced to do it with your own capital, right? So it puts a limitation on you by your ability to grow a business. So if you want to make a career out of buying 2 to 4 units, and you're not raising capital when you do this, right? So now you're just looking at rolling your own capital in, and maybe that's a viable method for you. But learning the skill of raising capital allows you to do bigger deals more often. You're not going to gain that with 2 to 4 units, generally, right? Jim talks about credit unions are great lending options, and 100% agree, right? So if you are evaluating banks, definitely check out your local credit unions, and even non-local credit unions. They can offer you some great terms, better than most of the big banks. All right. And then let's get into exit a little bit, right? So how do you roll out of these things, right? So I talked about that. Don't go in without knowing how you're going to go out. So the pros of a 2 to 4 unit is, if the market goes up, if we hit a span in the market, overall housing market, like we did from 2012, depending on when your market decided to act right, up until, I don't know, March, that's great for you, right? So valuations go up, you can get out. Cons, though, if evaluations go down like they are now, then your neighborhood and your property is going to go down as well, right? And you don't have as many levers to pull to be able to insulate yourself from that. All right. So now let's go into multifamily. For those that joined late, when I say multifamily, this is commercial. This is 5+ units, right? So on the income approach, when we are talking about the evaluation of multifamily, we use the income approach, which means we're taking that rental income, they're subtracting out all the expenses to determine what we'll call net operating income. And then we're going to take that net operating income and give you an evaluation of how much your property is worth. So in the previous example I gave, if you're able to go from 1,000 units or $1,000 in monthly rent up to $800 in monthly rent, if you bought a multifamily property, you're going to see an explosion of your evaluation. All right, because now you've increased it by $800 a month per unit over a 12-year span, and that's just going to give you a lot more income to your bottom line. So it allows you to have a higher evaluation when it comes into exit. Some of the cons is it decreasing NOI does have an effect on you as well. And I misspelled evaluation, blah, blah, let's fix that. So how can your NOI decrease? Well, if your property manager isn't filling your units, right, that's going to have your evaluation go down. If for whatever reason your rents are decreasing, maybe they overbuilt in your market or you're having a lot of competition, that can negatively affect your evaluation. So pros, it is based on the income approach. Cons, the income approach, if it doesn't work in the favor, will reduce your evaluation. So let's talk about financing. When you go to a lender and say, hey, I want a multifamily, what's going to be the pros of doing that in a multifamily versus a 2 to 4 unit? First, you're going to have more loan options, right? So typically you'll see various products for these. You may have agency lenders. So we talked about this in some training past about the various ways to finance multifamily properties, but you'll have more of those and you'll also get more flexible terms. So you may get an interest only period. You may get interest only for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? So there's a lot more flexibility when it comes to that. Additionally, there's going to be non-recourse debt options. So when you're financing a multifamily, they're looking at the property first, the borrower second. So the bank says, do we like this property? Does this property support the debt service coverage ratio? Do we feel confident in the ability of this property to pay us back based off the income it generates? Because of that, they don't necessarily look at you, the borrower, as their sole way of getting their money back. So you'll see non-recourse loan options in multifamily, which means it doesn't go against your personal credit unless they got bad boy carve outs. If you do something obviously egregious, then they will come after you. But if it's just for market reasons or whatever, they won't hold you personally liable. It's also easier to raise private capital. Now we talked about that evaluation, where we say you're able to put together a deal, a pro forma, say, hey, we're going to buy it at X amount in NOI, and we're going to sell it when our NOI goes up by whatever multiple, right? So now you could talk to private capital and say, we are going to be able to buy this at $1 million and sell it at 2, all right, or somewhere thereabout, whatever it is, 10 million, we're going to exit at 13 million, something like that. But because of that, you can attract private capital easier. And it's also the ability to get more creative. And so when I talk about creative options, you have the ability to raise private capital and use that for your down payment, right? So one of the cons of this, sort of merging these together, but that you're going to need more capital, right? So you don't get any first-time home buyer payments or down payment assistance. None of that's going to be existent for you in multifamily. So you're going to need 20% or more in order to finance these projects. But when we talk about how to get creative, you can structure private capital to be the down payment that you need, or be some of the fees that you need going in up front. So that's the pro, being able to attract capital and get creative. The con is that you're going to need more money in order to close up front. All right. Cons is also going to be team members needed, right? So if you like to say, I'm a one-man show, I do everything by myself, it's going to be very hard for you to grow a large portfolio in the multifamily business, because usually to grow and scale, you need team members, you need partners. It becomes more of a business, and most sustainable businesses aren't ran by one person teams, right? You got the solopreneur that does that, but most sustainable businesses, you're going to need team members and other people to help you out. All right. So any questions right there? I want to pause. Am I going over anybody's head? Anybody had a question about that? Dan Paul coming in from London, my man. Good to have you here. But I don't see any questions. So Irish, help me out if I missed that.
I have a question.
All right, what we got?
When you said some of the loans, I mean, when you're buying something, I think it's the multifamily one you were saying. You said it might be an interest. You only might have to pay the interest only for the first couple of years. What do you mean by paying the interest only?
Yeah. So in the commercial space, you usually, I don't know why I hear echo. Stop this. Are y'all hearing that echo? Or is it just me? Okay, maybe it's coming. Maybe it's
It's
coming.
okay now.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was you because you were unmuted. Okay, gotcha. So yes, interest only is where you're not going to make any principal payments to the pay down. You're only paying the interest portion of the loan only. Why would you do that? And sometimes if you're doing a value add strategy, you may purchase a property and you don't have enough NOI, or you want to see your NOI grow through rehab. So you start off with a term, say 1 to 5 years, where you don't pay any principal. You have lower debt payments, so you can focus more on increasing the evaluation, because that's where the majority of your money is going to be made when you take the property from 1 million to say 2 million or something like that, right? So you can exit at a larger multiple by not having to use your cash flow solely for debt when it comes to principal and interest. All right. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly. Because you said you might want to use some of the profits you get to do some type of rehab or whatever the case is, so that'll help you that way. But what if you had the money to do the rehab? Would you still want to go to the only interest route, or is it
Yeah,
do you
I
think it's
think interest.
beneficial?
I think interest only is a good play if you're doing value add multifamily real estate. All right. I don't necessarily like it as much for a residential 2 to 4 unit property, unless you're buying something that's distressed and maybe there's some vacancies there and you can fill them. But you want to feel pretty confident about your ability to do that, my opinion.
Gotcha.
Yep.
When you sign up for in your group do you guys, like, let's say if I find a commercial deal or whatever, do you guys go over the deal with any of your members, or do you offer that?
Yeah, if you're looking at a deal and you want to get some help with it, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
It's something that I could assist you with, maybe point you in the right direction to make it happen. So yeah, I would say just shoot me a message via Facebook or even after this through email, and I'll see what I can do to set you up there. So is it Marie or is that Mary? But I see your hand raised.
Mary, thank you
Mary.
for taking my question.
Sure.
Very, very informative information. But my question is in regards to, you said when you purchase the multifamily units, you have to have an exit strategy, more or less. But your exit strategy, it sounded like you were basing it on the property or the evaluations of the rents going up. But what if that doesn't happen? Is that how you meant it? Because my question is that what you were talking about? It's like, okay, you purchase now a 20 unit complex. It's $800 a month on each unit. Now, 3 years down the road, you're looking at your exit strategy. Is your exit strategy based on the rent then?
Yeah,
I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, so let me elaborate on that a little bit. So one of the things you're able to do with multifamily is the ability to understand your market, right? So just like a single family uses the comparable approach. So let's say I'm buying something and the rents are, as you mentioned, $800, right? But I know if it had a modern paint scheme and new flooring and new cabinets, that there are units today that I can rent that for let's say $1,200. Right. I know that today based off market research. So what I'll do is I feel confident in my ability to get that $1,200 because I'm going to do those renovations to make it look better. And that's how you get the certainty in forcing appreciation and forcing rent bumps. Now, it may take you a while to do that, right? Depending on how large the apartment complex, it may take you a year or 2 years, but you have some sort of comfort in knowing that usually rents go up and not down, and the fact that you've baked in appreciation because you're going to just make the place overall look better. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. So you're looking at today's valuation, basing it on tomorrow's what is going to go on with tomorrow. But you're going to evaluate it on today, right?
I want to clean that up a little bit. So when I say a comparable property, I'm talking about if it's $800 today, what I'm renting at, I see a comparable property that's renting at $1,200 today. Right. So that's what gives me comfort to say, if I go do this evaluation, right, if it's the same 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and I take my 2-bed, 2-bath and make it look like their 2-bed, 2-bath, then I can get the same rents that they're achieving. I just can't do it today because, right, I got to wait on the tenant to move out, or I got to wait on the time to do the renovation. But that gives you the confidence to say, hey, in a few months or a few years, we'll be able to increase our evaluation that way.
Okay, so we're saying the same thing,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm saying it in a different way. But basically, you have to be certain that what you purchase today is going to bring you the exit that you would like to have 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
you're looking for that confidence right away. Yep.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Sure. So let's roll through. We're about to wrap up here pretty soon. So exit, right? We talked about well, we are talking about forced appreciation is the main play. If I'm buying multifamily apartment complexes, especially as you're trying to build wealth, grow a portfolio, forced appreciation is just the way to go, right? So just as we discussed, being able to know that you're buying something today and it's going to be more valuable tomorrow, right? And it's easier to evaluate that future cost because you got rental projections, right? And as we just talked about, you can look at current properties similar to yours in a similar neighborhood and say, all right, based off of this, I know that I can get X amount rents, and that's going to increase my evaluation by this much, right? And so by doing that, it's easier to determine your exit value in years to come. Now, the downside to this when it comes to exiting is that it just takes longer, right? So where, single families or even duplex or quads, you may be able to flip in 6 months. It takes longer with multifamily because you can't touch units or can't raise rents when they're existing. So if you got a tenant and they got a year-long lease, they signed up the day before you bought it. Well, it's going to take you a year before you can increase that. And depending on the size of the property that you're buying and you wait for those leases to turn over, it could take you a year or 2 or 3 years before you can actually get through all the units in order to increase that evaluation. So that's one of the downsides when it comes to exiting. But typically you're buying something that is currently occupied, right? That's how it works, right? So overall, I'll give you this, and yeah, I know we got some other questions, so we're about to wrap it in, bring this plane in for a landing. But this is Jason Stubblefield's overall when to buy each, right? So this may work for you, it may not, but here's what I think. So 2 to 4 units you want to buy when you are looking for a place to live, right? If you're going to use it as your own personal residence, you are looking for a place to live at right now. Hey, why not buy a townhome that's has 3 other townhomes adjacent to it, or maybe duplex, quad, whatever, right? When one of your primary goals is just to reduce your living expenses, you say, all right, it costs me $2,000 a month to live. If I had some other units, I could reduce that cost down. Maybe I could live for free. Maybe I could live for just a few $100s a month, right? That's a good time to try to buy a 2 to 4 unit. If you've never bought anything, if you're brand new to multifamily and you're like, hey, I've never bought a single family home, but I like multifamily. I like what it can do. You want to get started. I think going a 2 to 4 unit as your first single family purchase makes a lot of sense. Okay. Multifamily. I would recommend that when you're looking to grow a portfolio and achieve financial independence. All right. So if you're saying, hey, I'm looking to accomplish, I want to leave my job. I want to make real estate as a career. I would say that's when you want to look into multifamily. If you're trying to build your net worth, I would recommend multifamily. You're doing value add deals. You're trying to make sure that you can force appreciation. Growing your net worth is going to be a byproduct of that. I would look at multifamily. And when you're making real estate a business, right? I think I mentioned that before, but when you're just saying, hey, I want to go and make real estate my thing, right? Now you want to be looking at apartment complexes because you're going to be able to create that scalability. What some people come to me wanting to do is that they've already bought single family. They're not looking for a place, but they're trying to get in and grow a business on multifamily. And maybe you've got some capital saved up. You say, all right, I'm just going to buy a 2 to 4 unit. But in reality, say you have $50,000 of disposable income or money that you're willing to throw into a property. 50,000, 100,000 doesn't matter. If you do it on a 2 to 4 unit, you've sort of utilized all your resources, right? You blew your load, you got a 4 unit. Now, I probably should use another analogy, but anyways, you bought a 4 unit, but because it's based off the comparable approach, you don't have any sort of assurance that it's going to be worth more a year from now, 2 years from now than you did when you bought it. So that capital sits in that property for an extended period of time, just like it would a single family, until the market naturally goes up and you can refinance or something like that. So that's my 2 cents on it. And that's the end of this. So we're right at 34 minutes after the hour. Let's see. Lisa, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I did. I had put my question in the chat box, but I'm just wondering, how do you raise the capital money? I'm a very new investor. I did the buy one home to start off, but I'm interested in multifamily, more than 4 units, and I know I won't be able to get wealth based upon the one home approach. So I'm just wondering, how do I get to that next step of raising or collaborating with others for that private capital?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've actually, so that's a loaded question. There's multiple ways to do it. Just in brevity right now, I'll say it really boils down to you putting the word out to investors and understanding the business so that you know what you can do for them. Right. And being able to attract that investor database. If I went into it completely, I mean, that's a whole nother training right now. I would just say, shoot me an email. And I can direct you to we did a meetup like this. It was all about raising capital that'll go more into depth about it. And you may find that helpful.
Thank you.
Sure thing. And so Sean's asking for my contact. Yeah, I'll put my email address there. Okay. And we had another question. So Derek, what you got, sir?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together. Honestly, my question was, I guess, more on the same lines as what Lisa was asking. So, I already have got my single unit that's mostly doing a short-term rental right now. Done some rental in the past, and I'm really trying to jump back in. And my focus right now is I'm consuming everything related to multifamily, trying to read up, learn as much as possible. But really, the question is, as far as like where to really start off, right? As far as like, possibly building partnerships, raising money and all that kind of stuff. Or, just need some step-by-step um, you know,
Yeah,
information so I
yeah,
can
God,
start,
guidance on that. I would say the same thing. So, same thing that I said to Lisa, right? I've got a pile of these. I don't know if this goes not only for you, Derek, but anyone who's on here. If you're not in Facebook group, so I started a Facebook group, and within that, I keep a lot of trainings going, and you can ask questions as you're going along to get answered. But that's a good starting place, just to dig in, go through previous trainings like this, raising capital, getting started, understanding the business, all that. I think that would help you out as you're looking to get started in the business.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. What's your Facebook group?
It's called the Multifamily Code. And if you
Oh,
shoot me an email, I'll make sure you get the actual link. But if you just go to Facebook, type in the Multifamily Code, request to join, we'll approve you and get you into the world, man.
all right. Appreciate it.
LaRon, that's
What's
a
up,
familiar
man?
face, man. How you been?
Man, we have to catch up offline, but everything's always good on this end, man.
Oh, glad to hear it, man. Talk to me, man. What's your question?
How can we help you in your business endeavors? Because, all of us are on here to learn more about real estate investing, and you're, you know, definitely advanced in this space. What can we do to be able to either support you and, maybe basically mutually benefit as well?
To support me and to benefit. I would say that's a great book. Jason, he put in the chat, Joe Fairless's book, Best Ever Apartment Syndication. That's one that I've read multiple times that goes through that. So that would be a resource for you. I'm a resource to you. If you join the Multifamily Code, I try to put a lot of longer training, shorter training, other spreadsheets that I use, stuff like that, all goes into that group. So that would be a good place for you. And then I would just say, for me, if you want to help me out, man, if there's anyone else that you know of that is interested in the multifamily area,
Yeah.
if I've been of value, just say, hey, Jason's got a weekly meetup. You may want to check out and invite more people along, or that would be helpful enough.
I'll do that, and I have a few people I'll send your way. But also, when I look at Jason's comment, I tend to be a fan of David Lindahl's Multifamily Millions. But he's referring specifically to like apartment syndication, which David Lindahl doesn't talk that much about that in his book. He's talking more about multifamily millions. So
Yeah. I've read both of those. I think that they're completely different books, even though they're both about multifamily. David Lindahl's, my opinion, is more of a sort of big picture what you can do.
yeah.
Whereas that Best Ever is probably more like, hey, here are steps to get started in syndication. Take this and put it into motion. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Whatever that is. All right.
Okay.
I guess Sean saying, what other books would you recommend? Man, I've got so many. I would probably stick with my best multifamily. I would say Commercial Real Estate for Dummies is another good one, and also the Best Ever Apartment Syndication. I'm not a huge book reader, but those are two that sort of stand out. Well, all right. If nothing else, thank you on this Friday edition of the Multifamily Code. Appreciate you all. I think I had my email that was dropped into the chat, so you can get that. If you're interested in learning more, also got a program that sort of helps investors get started from the ground floor up. So reach out to me if you're interested in that. As well as if you are a passive investor, you go to SNS Capital Partners. That's Sam Capitalpartners.com. You can hear about our investors if you sign up on our list there. So other than that, wish you all a great weekend. Make it a great day on purpose. Be the best version of you, because it'll make you the happiest. I'm out. Have a good one.